All right. Well, second half of First Corinthians 7 is kind of going into more detail as far as the married man, and even Paul talks about the unmarried man and the unmarried person, and how they should live their life. We talked, as you remember, this is a series going through Corinthians, seeking what Paul is talking about from 1 Corinthians 16:13 when he says to act like men. And we're looking at 1 Corinthians in that light. And so the first part of 1 Corinthians 7, we talked about how sacrificial and how selfless we are to be in our marriage. And Paul goes on and challenges the people in Corinth to live as they are called. He says, only let each person lead the life that the Lord has assigned to him and to which God has called him. And so he talks about, as he goes through the chapter, he talks about how the things that are, not to go out and do something foolish in expectation that it would benefit you or bless you, like getting circumcised. We know that Jesus freed us from the law so that we're no longer bound to the law or bound to the law that of rituals and traditions like circumcision and stuff. He challenges believers to remain married. He exhorts them and says, you're going to have trials in your marriage. Expect that. There is anxiety that exists within marriage, especially if you're not putting the effort into it, if you're not being selfless, both of you being selfless. He goes on, he says, the married man is anxious about worldly things, how to please his wife, and his interests are divided. He's focused on pleasing his wife, and it distracts him from doing the things that please God. If your marriage is selfless and sacrificial, then you don't have to worry about those things. And so the challenge exists that you live the life that you're called and focus on Jesus. But in that, you love your wife. Your wife loves you. You serve each other. You don't have to get caught up in those anxieties. He also exhorts those who aren't married to not worry about being married, but to focus on Jesus. He says towards the end of 7, if anyone thinks that he is not behaving properly toward his wife or his spouse, his betrothed, if his passions aren't strong and it has to be let him do as he wishes, let him marry. So he's saying, if you're being distracted by worldly desires and pleasures, then to get married. But if you don't have to not get married. So there is this charge in chapter 7, like I said in the last video, to be selfless, to be generous. He closes this section, and remember the original text didn't have chapters, and so we're looking at this with chapters. He says a wife is bound to her husband as long as he lives, but if her husband dies, she is free to be married. So he's giving instructions to the married folks. You need to be committed to your spouse. Divorce isn't really an option for you. But if she dies, then that's the option. So easier said than done in this day and age. Far too many people are getting divorces, and the reason they're getting divorces is because one or both quit putting the effort into the marriage that is necessary to keep it strong and healthy. And so that's the simplicity of it. There's a lot going on from 7:17 to 7:40 in that message. It can sound a little confusing, but basically the rest of the chapter is designed to support the first part of the chapter, and that's to have a selfless and sacrificial marriage. So that's what I got for the remainder of chapter 7. I hope it's beneficial to you. We'll move on to 8 next time. God bless.